So I'm here with the mission today, and I think like I have not enough time to tell you everything that I want to tell. But actually, let's move to the story, because every good content starts with the story behind it. So for you, it would be important that for that story, that in Warsaw, we don't have so many metro lines that you have in Madrid. We have only 2 of them. So the second one is developing right now, which is a huge investment for the city council. And I have my friend at the building, at the construction site of that second line of metro. So I went there a few weeks ago at the beginning of September to take a look inside how they built something so huge that they don't fail. And I entered, I got through, and then I found out like, oh, that's pretty easy. They plan, they analyze the needs of the city council, like how many people would ride the metro, what are the rush hours, what are the schedules and stuff like this, and where should the route be, and where the stations should be. And then they invite the general constructor that starts to build the metro system, the underground system, and he is responsible for cooperation with the subcontractors that deliver single parts of the metro, like the digging machine, like escalators, like elevators, and stuff like this, and rails, and so on and so on. Do you see any similarity to your work? Like, do you feel it's the same? We analyze the needs of our customers. We find out what is the best infrastructure to deliver that. And what is more, we have to choose the elements that we will build the e-commerce system from. We are, as an agency, as developers, we are responsible for extensions that we install for our merchant. So that's pretty the same. Then we develop the system for our merchant. So let's take a look deeper. Like you have unit tests. Every single part of your system you have to check itself. It's the same for construction site. If the concrete comes, they have to check the weight of it, the volume of it, and stuff like that. When you go deeper, you have integration tests in our case, and it's pretty the same for construction site, because every time when they build another part of the tunnel, they have to check if the previous ones fits the new one, if the rails of previous ones fits the new ones. So that's the same. We do exactly the same work. And the last one is functional test. We check if our customer, if our merchant can invite customer to his page and get the whole system, the happy flow, from the entering the website and entering the store, searching the product, adding to cart, checking out with or without cash on delivery, with express payments online and stuff like that. And then if the order is placed correctly, if everything goes fine. So that's pretty the same with the construction site of metro, because they have picking machine, and that's not on the slide, but it's the machine that has plastic cards all around it, and it checks if tunnel is not too narrow, if it's not too small to pass all the trains that will be going through that tunnel. So, and at the end, they put the train in it, and they go one way and another, one way and another, day and night, and that's pretty the same like our functional tests. So there should be a GIF, but it's not playing, so I will show, because I want to say that's the same, but different, but still the same. So that's my message. We do exactly the same work like the engineers on construction site. So my mission for today is to say no more excuses. No more. We cannot say that we don't do the buildings. No one will die because of our work. That's just excuse. We cannot say we don't have time to test. That's only excuse. It's still excuse. We have to work responsibly. And we have to be responsible for the systems that we deliver, because it's exactly the same with what happens on a construction site. And the story ends. Another story starts. In 2017, I was on Magento Fest in Amersfoort in Netherlands. We are in a short of time, so I will not explain all the story. But there was a premiere of awesome tool, in my opinion, which is Magento Functional Testing Framework. And Tom Erskine told about it from the stage. So Magento Functional Testing Framework introduces a few tools that are known for QA engineers. That's why I ask about QA engineers in the room, because they probably know Allure reports tool and Selenium. The new joiner to that pack is Codeception, that is probably known to people to developers who tried with Behat, and that's something that is known for the community. And MFTF comes with 1400 tests ready to use. Like, you install fresh Magento, you run MFTF, and it checks 1400 test cases from end to end, like searching for product, like adding a new product through admin panel and stuff like that. So you have already the test that you can run with clean Magento instance. And sooner or later, it will happen. Like, that's the slide from 2018 from Magento Fest in Italy that mentions the MFTF will be a part of quality measurement for marketplace extensions. So sooner or later you will have to deliver MFTF tests for your extensions. And we didn't have to wait long because that escalated quite quickly. We have more and more presentations on different conferences about MFTF. We have main people in Adobe, like Igor Gorin, mentioning that that they are moving towards using MFTF in extensions. Even if you joined Igor Miniailo today before, he mentioned that MFTF is something that is developed to improve the overall quality, not only of front end, but also of APIs for GraphQL, for distributed architecture of Magento. So we are actually technicians, so we should get deeper. We should take a look under the hood. So what's inside, how to run it. Actually, you can run it in two basic ways. One is through the Docker setup. You can run Docker and then connect MFTF to it. Or another way, you can run Selenium standalone. Selenium is the tool that runs Chromie and behaves like a user, like it clicks through the elements on a page. It drives the browser like user does. So you can use one of these two options, but there was one glitch. We work with Magento, it's not always easy. In this case, it's also not easy because it's not compatible with latest Selenium version. So you have to use 3.8.1 to make it 100% compliant. We are working on making it work with most recent version, but it's not working yet. So you can remember that's 3.8.1. Anyway, your friend from now would be a vendor bin MFTF. That's the command line tool that lets you to generate the config files, to generate the generated test files, because as everything in Magento, we write tests in XML, but it's converted into PHP, easy to read for codeception. So that's the same with MFTF. And Actually, after running build project, you have tests, you have configuration file generated, and depending on that configuration file, your setup, your MFTF setup will connect to Selenium driver, and it will run tests on selected Magento instance. So in this specific case, it's magento.local as a hostname, and then Selenium host is on local machine. You can also choose which browser you want to run, if it's Chrome, if it's Firefox. And running single tests is quite easy, because if you know the test name, you can run it with MFTF command and with test::run, and that's all. The browser is being opened, the test is run, and it checks if the test scenario can pass. For the example, on a slide, you can see the browser on the right and the outcome of on the left. So if everything passes, it's just green. If something fails, it's on red on a command line. So you see that something is broken, that some element cannot be executed properly. You can generate tests, because after changing the XML, MFTF wouldn't be aware that you've changed it, so you can regenerate it and then run it again and again. You can run the whole set of tests with vendor bin codesept run functional, and you provide the codeception config file. But I mentioned that we don't have only PHP files with MFTF, we have XML files. So how we compile them? We use the core elements, like the core, the tests are delivered with the core, and the page definitions, the section definitions that are delivered with the core. Then we extend them with extensions. Like when you install a third-party extension, it can override some of the elements of core tests. It can extend the core tests, but still you can override them with your own implementation, with app code. And Magento functional testing framework actually uses the sequence that you put in module XML. So the overriding sequence is just the same like with plugins, with observers and stuff like that. How it looks like inside. You can see the single test, and actually it's written properly because test should be made of action groups. Action group is like group of instructions that have common name. If you have some repetitive job to perform, you can still use action groups, and you can see on the slide. Yeah, you can see on the slide that first action group is storefront open contact us page action group, and then assert captcha visible on contact us form action group. So we put some instructions inside the action group to perform group of actions. And previously you've seen a good example of test made of action groups, but now you can see wrong example that is inside the core, and it's made of single instructions. So you can see that I'm on a page and the URL of it, and then you wait for page load, you call action group add to cart from storefront product page, but then you have wait for page loading mask to disappear. And that's not the best way to perform that, because the actions that are here are repetitive. So you should use action groups to repeat. So I mentioned action group. Action group looks like this, and you have you can provide arguments into action groups. So if you want to reuse action groups, you can. But the differences between them are so slight that that doesn't make sense to make multiple action groups. You can provide argument into it. You can inject argument into it, and that will be compiled the way that argument is put in the right place. In this specific case, admin user is entity. So it's a set of parameters, set of attributes that can be reused. And you don't always use only one data. Like you can create multiple users. You can use different products. You can use different admin users. So you can also prepare the set of data that you will use during your tests. And the last thing that is defined in XML are pages and sections. Pages is like the admin login page, and section inside. There are two sections in the admin login page, which is first is messages that you get when you put the wrong credentials or you have an session message to display. Second one is admin login section. Where you put credentials in it. So you can override the sections and the pages itself. So if you replace the whole login for Magento, you can replace the page on the page on the test, and it will work on all the system. You don't have to get into each of tests and replace the selector for login field and password field. It's enough if you replace that in one place. And after running that, you get the reports. And reports are easy to use, easy to explain to the business because that are presented with Allure. And you have the suits, and suit contains a set of groups of tests. So if you are testing the admin panel, you have suit of responsible for example, catalog on admin panel. Then you have set of groups like creating group projects, creating group products, creating single products in admin panel, and stuff like that. So it's easy to navigate. It's easy to check what's going wrong, what's going right in your instance, in your Magento instance. And there's another example how it looks like when you click through. Like we entered the checkout, we check the one-page checkout customer data when changing product quantity, how it behaves, and the whole scenario is explained on the right-hand side. If something goes wrong, in that report, you will be able to check not only the screenshot from failing step, but you can also download the HTML page from the page that caused this issue, like which caused the failure of assumption. We are moving towards the CLI output that is BDD friendly, BDD-like actually. So we want to make it. Currently, it's mixed, like it's first and second mixed together. But the goal is to have really easy to read output from CLI. That if something fails on CI/CD procedure, you will know from CLI what was wrong with that test, which test failed and why. We are running out of time. So when it comes to progressive web apps, so that's the thing for front-end developers actually, you don't have to worry about it because MFTF doesn't use the application layer. It uses the front-end layer. So if you replace the default front-end of Magento to any other, it's enough when you change the selectors in sections defined for Magento, and it will still work. So if you have completely different scenario for adding product to cart, you replace the action group, and that will work. So you don't have to worry. It will still work, and you can connect even Browserify to it, and it will behave like on iPads, on MacBook, and different browsers with the same API because of Selenium is Browserify compatible. What about the competition? That was the question I got on PHP Summit in Poland, and I want to keep it because we have competition that has lower threshold. Like we have Cypress. It's extremely easy to write tests in Cypress. We have Behat. It's also very likely to use it for small projects because the threshold to enter is really low. But why MFTF? because of this stupid 1400 test that you got out of the box. You don't have to write it yourself. So that's why. Complementary solutions, you can use Selenium for using different browsers, different setups for your tests, and you don't always have to check to test only Magento. If you want to check if the online payment provider works properly, you can use MFTF also. You don't have to test only only have to test Magento. I did proof of concept that really works to check the emails that are delivered. So I get the Mailhawk extension, and then you can check if all the data in the emails was replaced properly. So is it worth it to use MFTF? Is it worth it to write tests there and use that? Yes, it is. It is, and it is worth to sleep safe and to deploy on Friday without being called by your manager at 8 p.m. on Friday. That's the case, and that's actually my plate. So I think that we have 1 minute for questions. Any questions so far?